Enhanced Law Enforcement District Budget Committee meeting. This is Tuesday, May 4th at 6 p.m. or a little bit thereafter, 6:04. And the first item on the agenda is to call the meeting to order and have a roll call of the committee members. Who is going to do that?
Casey, would you do honors, please?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so let's do a roll call here then. Council Belmont?
Present.
Finance Director Scheer?
Present.
Commissioner Hall?
Present.
Sheriff Landers?
Present.
Deanna Gravel? Deanna, are you with us?
She's nodding her head yes.
Okay. Chair Hunt?
Present.
Commissioner Jacobson?
I am present, and I also just received a note from Carrie Priest-Floyd that she is not feeling well and is not going to be able to make the meeting tonight.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Lieutenant Bertner? Carl, are you with us? Can you
Yes, here I am.
Okay. Lori Lager?
Present.
Will Warman?
Present.
And Lisa Norton. Okay, that's our roll call.
I'm here.
Thank you. That's our roll call for enhanced law enforcement.
Okay, and we do have a quorum of budget committee members. The committee consists of the 3 county commissioners and the 3 appointed representatives, which I believe are Lori Lager, Lisa Norton, and Mayor Willie Warman. And with that, the first item on the agenda is to elect a chair of the budget committee. This is traditionally a member, one of the appointed members of the budget committee. So I will entertain a nomination for chair of the Siletz Area Enhanced Law Enforcement District, chair of the budget committee.
This is Mayor Warman. I'd like to nominate Lori Lager.
I'll second that nomination.
It's been moved and seconded. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none, I will call for a vote. All those in favor of Lori Lager as chair, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Any opposed, please say nay. Hearing none, Lori, you are elected chair of the budget committee. And with that, I will turn the agenda over to you, and you may proceed with an election of a vice chair. Thank you for your willingness to serve.
Thank you, Lisa and Willie. Do either one of you willingly want to volunteer to be the vice chair?
No, but I'll nominate Willie.
I'll second Willie.
And any further discussion? So let's take a vote to nominate Willie Warman as the vice chair of the budget committee, the Siletz Valley Budget Committee. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. With that, Willie Warman has been elected as the vice chair of the budget committee. So our next thing on the agenda is the budget message from Christina and Sheriff Curtis Landers. Christina, would you like to go first? Or are you
would.
Landers?
Okay, so just for the benefit of our viewing audience and for the rest of the committee, I'm going to be reading the budget message. This is something that needs to be formally read into the record, so you're going to hear me talk kind of like this for a little while I get through it. There'll be opportunity for questions after that, and certainly Sheriff Landers will have comments as well. But I just need to go ahead and read this in the record. So if everybody's ready, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Okay. For the Siletz Area Enhanced Law Enforcement Service District, this budget portrays the expected financial performance of the Siletz Area Enhanced Law Enforcement Service District, or district, for fiscal year 2021-2022 and shows the operations of the district. The district was approved by voters in the primary election of May 17th, 2016, with a tax rate of $1.31 per 1,000 of assessed value. In conformance with Oregon Revised Statutes, Chapter 294, this budget is balanced between its revenue and expenditures. The district is budgeted using the modified accrual basis of accounting, recording revenues at the time they become measurable and available to finance expenditures of the current period, and recording expenditures at the time liabilities are incurred. Significant revenues include property taxes and contributions from the Confederated Tribes of the Siletz. This was a new district in the 2016-17 year and is accounted for as a fund in the Lincoln County accounting system. It is managed as other special districts under the authority of the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners. The district is organized into one general operating fund appropriated by the categories of personal services, materials and services, capital outlay, contingency, and ending balance. Beginning with this fiscal year, this is actually something that I'm going to have to change. This actually started 2 years ago. The expenditures for this activity have been rearranged and consolidated with the overall Sheriff's Office patrol operations. No personnel costs or other operating costs are budgeted in this fund. Instead, a lump sum charge from the Sheriff's Office for those services appears in the materials and services category of the fund. The 2021-2022 budget is $673,600, an increase of $107,670 from the prior fiscal year. The fund's contingency is estimated at $337,539 for the 2021-2022 fiscal year, which constitutes the fund's anticipated ending balance. The ending balance is 50% of the total fund. Okay, that's the formal part of this presentation. I'm going to turn it over to Curtis for his comments if he has any.
Good evening, members of the Budget Committee, the Siletz Area Enhanced Law Enforcement District Budget Committee. Yeah, Christina basically spelled it out. The budget is still healthy with growing contingency based on the taxing dollars that are coming in. I just want to mention that this is a great partnership with the Confederate Tribe of the Siletz Indians, paying half of the cost of the 2 full-time deputies out in that area, and then the district picking up the other half with additional money going into contingency for the future. So it does remain healthy. We noticed that while the personnel costs continue to rise, but it seems that our workforce in the patrol division is going down. We had retirements of some longtime members, and what we do is we take an average overall of the patrol deputy salary, and that's how we come up with the cost for our both of our contract areas with Siletz and Walport. And that just we've seen just a slight modest increase in that for this year. I guess I'll turn it over to any questions that the committee may have at this point.
This is the time for public input or comment. Does anybody have any public input or comment?
We have not received any public input or comment on this budget.
Does any of the committee have any comments? Willie?
I do.
I can't hear who that is. I'm sorry.
now?
Yes, we can.
Okay, so I would say 9 or 10 months ago, somewhere in there, we were getting a little frustrated with how we were seeing the enhanced law enforcement going. So sat down and had a talk with Kurt, with Sheriff Landers and some of the deputies, and we started trying to mess around with how the law enforcement was basically set up in Siletz. And since then, they've come up with a new plan. They have 2 deputies that are stationed here basically as the 2 permanent deputies, and seen huge changes, way happier than we were 9 months ago or so. And so I just want to thank Curtis for being, well, I think they actually came up with the plan just on some push from us to do things a little differently. And I just want to thank you for thinking outside the box and making those changes.
And those changes, just to expand on that, the mayor is referring to, as I believe, as we went from just an 80 hours of service random coverage in the area to a dedicated person on day shift and a dedicated person on night shift, so that kind of have that more of that community policing approach in the area. There's definitely advantages and disadvantages to both approaches. But this one seems to work very well for the Celeste Law Enforcement District. It really brings an element of community policing to get to know the deputy in the area. Yeah, it seems to have worked out well, so I'm glad that we tried that, worked with the mayor and tried to come up with that solution.
You know, one of the things I have to say is that I'm impressed with how they've become a part of the community. I was at a baseball game the other day, and one of the deputies was actually sitting there watching the game with the community, and really has become a part of our community. And I, wave at him every morning, and I think that a lot of us appreciate having him out there during the day, and the fact that you can roll up on him and talk to him. And so I wanted to thank you for that too, because I really feel like he's become a part of our community.
I also think we have the right amount of public face, nice guy officer during day shift, and that more aggressive, call me when you need me and I'll get after things guy for night shift. It's pretty awesome.
Do we have any further comments or questions for the sheriff regarding this plan and this budget?
Hello, Lori, this is Doug. I'll make a comment. I think the success of this law enforcement district speaks to really the caliber of the people involved. This is a great collaborative effort. Certainly the sheriff's office, Lisa Norton from the tribe, Willie from the city. And, this is the type of results that can be seen when you've got people that identify a problem, sit down, talk about it, and work on ways to find a solution. So, again, I think it's a great collaborative effort between, county government, the sheriff's office, the tribe, the city of Siletz, and the community of Siletz. Again, a great example of what can be done.
Any other comments? I don't want to close it. I want people to feel like they're being heard. Is there anybody else would like to make any comments before we ask for a motion?
This is Doug. I might make one more comment. I think it's important to make a distinction between this budget committee and the county budget committee. At the meeting that will be following, the budget meeting that will be immediately following this meeting, there will be a different group of individuals. The 3 commissioners will be the same, but we'll have different representatives from the private sector. And what the reality is that this is a taxing district that does not encompass the entire county, whereas the other special districts do. therefore the differentiation with this budget committee and the budget committee that covers the county and the countywide taxing district. So I think with that, it's appropriate to say thank you to LaLaurie, Lisa, and Willie for, again, your willingness to get involved and to serve.
And I think just to expand on that, thank you, Commissioner Hunt, for mentioning that. I think it was our desire when this district was initially formed with the 3 public members for the budget committee to have somebody representing the Flex tribe, somebody representing the city of Siletz, and then somebody representing the rural area of the district, because the district does encompass the Siletz Fire District, not just the city of Siletz. So that kind of took in the partnership of that rural area, the city, and then the partnership with the tribe, just kind of how we establish the 3 members that are there. So I appreciate them serving on the committee.
Absolutely.
So the next thing on the next thing we need to do is I need to ask for a motion to accept the budget for 2021 and to 22, right? The 2021 to 2022. So I need I need somebody to make a motion to accept.
Chair LaLaurie, I like to be able to say that. Everyone says Chair Hunt. So Chair LaLaurie, I move to approve the Siletz Area Enhanced Law Enforcement Service District fiscal year 2021-2022 budget as submitted to this committee, and to authorize a property tax levy at the permanent tax rate of $1.31 per thousand, and that these taxes be imposed and categorized for the tax year 2021-2022 upon the assessed value on all taxable property within the district in accordance with law as of July 1st, 2021.
I will second Commissioner's motion.
Thank you. Katie is the second. Do we have any further discussion? Okay, all in favor, I'm asking you to say aye.
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 Any opposed? I'm asking you to say nay. We have no nays, so we've accepted the Select Area Enhancement Law Enforcement Service District for the year 2021 and 2022 budget as presented tonight. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you.
I think with that, LaLaurie, you can adjourn and excuse us.
Lori?
Okay, adjourn. I want to thank everybody that's attended, and I'm going to jump off here and watch this baseball game. And I just want to, thank everybody that's attended, and I appreciate it. And I'll see you guys at the next meeting. Thank you.
I'm meeting this.
Okay. So, just so everyone's aware, we're still live. Chair Hunt, we're still live on YouTube and just transitioning here.
Okay.
And taking a look at our roster.
I think we can just do a roll call of the budget committee members.
I'm not seeing John Baird at the moment, unless I'm missing it.
Same either.
So with Carrie Boyd.
Well, I don't see Carrie Boyd either, so we need to wait.
Well, Carrie's not going to make it. She's not feeling well. So.
All right. Somebody have John's cell number?
I'm going to leave you with Christy here. I'm going to go run in the other room and call John.
I don't have it. While we're waiting, I'll give a shout out to Christina's husband. Trying to remember his name. I think it might be Terry.
Yes,
He took the picture we're looking at. Is that not correct, Christina?
that is correct.
Or at least he took the picture that we can see part of.
Since moving to the coast, he's been has picked up his camera and has started working on some photography.
Well, that certainly is a good start.
Okay, everyone, this is Casey just checking in. I can't, in my records, seem to find John Baird's phone number. I did send him an email. I will say he did respond to us via email, so I feel like he is aware of everything. So I guess my question would be, without Carrie and John, can we proceed?
This is Wayne Belmont. Yes, you can. There is a quorum still. You have 6 budget committee members. You need 4 in order to proceed. So
Okay.
you can actually receive the budget message and have an initial discussion. We will have a second budget committee meeting. I think it's May, help me with this, Christina, May 18th?
18th, yes.
Yes, okay. All right, so he'll have an opportunity to, obviously, to view this particular proceeding and participate if he doesn't make it here. So
Okay.
It's up to you, Chair Hunt, if you want to start now or want to wait a few minutes to see if he comes in, or however you'd like to proceed.
Well, go ahead, Commissioner Hall.
I didn't mean to interrupt, but I would like to offer up a suggestion, and I hope it isn't putting our newest committee member on the spot. Susan Woodruff, Waldport City Councilor, former Waldport Mayor. Traditionally, as you've already mentioned, Chair Hunt, the Budget Committee consists of the 3 commissioners and 3 citizen members, and the chair position rotates among the 3 citizen members. And normally we don't ask a brand new member to step into that presiding role, but certainly Councilor Woodruff has had a lot of experience in that role as mayor. So if you don't mind me asking if you would possibly consider this role, at least for tonight. I mean, either if you'd be willing to be chair, or we elect budget committee member Baird as chair in his absence, and you as vice chair, which would make you presiding officer for tonight.
And Sue, before you answer, I will say, you agreed to do this, and I really sincerely appreciate your efforts, but I don't want to put you in an uncomfortable situation, and there's no reason that I couldn't chair it or one of the other fellow commissioners couldn't chair it, if that would be your preference.
It really would be my preference. You guys' budget is much different than a city budget, and so I do feel like a newbie, and I'm sorry not to step up, but if you're willing to do it, I would be very happy for you to do that.
I'll check with our counselor Belmont. There's really no reason that a commissioner couldn't serve as chair other than tradition.
Absolutely not. Whichever commissioner would like to serve could serve as the chair.
I saw Katie raise her hand.
No, that's not what last year I did actually serve as chair, just for a little memory, because we were just getting used to the online thing, and it was kind of challenging, and so I did step into that role. So we do have some precedent for that, but no, I was not volunteering.
Well, I'll serve as chair if the rest of the committee members are agreeable.
Certainly.
I would be glad to elect you, Deb.
So just to make it official, could I nominate?
Well, we're not live yet.
Oh, I thought.
Well, we are live, but we haven't done a roll call yet.
Well,
Right.
are we on YouTube?
Yes, we are.
Oh, okay. No. I guess in that case, I will call the meeting to order. Are we ready to go, Casey?
Yep, we are.
Okay. All right, this is Doug Hunt, and this is the Lincoln County Budget Committee meeting on Tuesday, May 4th, and it is now 6:31 p.m. First item on the agenda is to call the meeting to order. I will do so. I will take the liberty of calling roll, or maybe better yet, just let the members of the committee introduce themselves. Again, Doug Hunt, Chair of the Lincoln County Board of Commissioners. Go ahead, Claire.
Hall, County Commissioner and Budget Committee member.
Sadie Jacobson, Commissioner and Budget Committee member.
Susan Woodruff, Walport City Councilor and Budget Committee member.
All right, we are missing John Baird and Carrie Boyd, but again, with 4 of 6 members, we do have a quorum. Next item on the agenda would be election of a chair for the Budget Committee, and well, traditionally, this has been one of the citizen representatives, acknowledging Mayor Councilor Woodruff's newness to the committee. I will entertain motions for chair of the Budget Committee, and I think I'm happy to serve if that's the pleasure of the rest of the committee members.
I nominate Commissioner Doug Hunt as Budget Committee Chair for fiscal year 21-22.
I second.
Susan second.
All right, moved and seconded. Are there any other nominations? Any discussion? All those in favor of myself serving as chair, please signify by saying aye.
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 All right, that motion carries. And next item would be the election of a vice chair. I will entertain motions for a vice chair.
I would like to nominate Susan Woodruff for vice chair. You have Doug as your mentor. You can, you can do it.
Barring acts of God, Sue, you'll only have to have that title by your name in the minutes. All right, is there a second?
I'll second the nomination.
Any other nominations? All those in favor of Sue Woodruff as serving as vice chair of the Lincoln County Budget Committee for the year 2021, 2022, signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
That motion carries. Congratulations, Sue. Thank you, too. I will raise a point of order here with Council Belmont. If my memory serves me correctly, we've also elected a secretary historically, which is nothing more than, I guess, a legal requirement or perfunctory past practice.
I think it was more perfunctory past practice since the minutes will be presented to you and taken by staff. There's really no need to have a secretary.
Okay, no, that answers that question, in which case we'll move on to introductions. I will start out by saying those that may have seen the prior budget committee meeting for the Siletz Enhanced Law Enforcement District, there are different members of different citizen members of that committee. And the reason for the differentiation is that that is not a county-wide taxing district. Tonight, all of the budget presentations that you will hear for the Transportation District, the Solid Waste District, Animal Services District, Extension Service District, and the county are county-wide taxing districts. And therefore, the same members serve on the committee for all of those entities. And again, for clarity, you have 3 county commissioners. You have John Baird, and John Baird's a retired school teacher, lives in Lincoln City. Carrie Boyd is, I'm not sure if she's retired, but she's certainly been a law enforcement official. And of course, we have Sue Woodruff, the former mayor of Walport and current city councilor of Walport. So that consists of the budget committee. And I will read the budget message that is in the budget document. And this is a message from the Board of Commissioners. This is for 2021, 2022 county budget. And it states, the Board of Commissioners, in conjunction with and the support of the County Management Team, M-Team, presents, as required by law, a balanced budget for fiscal year 2021, 2022. This budget document continues the important shift in direction in the county's approach to budgeting, triggered in part, but not exclusively, by the COVID-19 pandemic. However, we continue to be guided by the county's mission statement, quote, to provide essential public services, both legally required and locally desired, in an efficient, effective, and respectful manner, end quote. In managing this crisis, we have several important goals. 1, fulfill our important role as the local public health authority to monitor disease transmission and educate the public and take steps to protect and promote public health and safety. 2, maintain continuity of county operations to the greatest extent possible while protecting and recognizing the tremendous value of our workforce. 3, serve as a partner in the long-term recovery of our communities, especially acknowledging the dual county disasters of the COVID pandemic and the wildfires of 2020. 4, rebuild better as we recover and return to the new normal. The economic impacts of the pandemic and wildfire intensify what was already a challenging budget picture for the county operations in 2021, 2022. We continue to experience minor to severe impacts on many revenue sources, including state and federal grant programs, permit fees, and to a lesser degree, transient room tax revenues and property tax revenues. On a positive note, the American Rescue Plan Act will provide significant funds to the county. While at this time little is known about spending conditions and limitations, we are committed to much public discussion as we prioritize projects and expenditures to benefit most effectively our county, our community, and its people. Recognizing this reality, we put forward this budget with no proposed elimination of staff positions, though we will be monitoring our revenues and expenditures even more closely than ever before. Our current budget path projects costs exceeding anticipated revenues, depleting reserves at an alarming rate. Accordingly, we continue to constrict funds allocated for materials and services, and this budget also includes a budgeted vacancy factor, reducing funds for personnel services. With the retirement of our county council of 35 years, actually Wayne's been an employee of 35 years, we are hiring a county administrator to improve county operations and efficiencies. We expect to see significant ongoing belt tightening and expenditure reductions in future budgets. It is our paramount goal to continue the stable county service environment we have nurtured since the recession a decade ago. We are continuing to work on various capital projects, many of which have been delayed by the COVID pandemic. Among them, the new Lincoln County Animal Shelter is progressing at its new location at the Newport Airport. Development of the county commons is again moving forward, and plans are underway for a new emergency management center currently in the courthouse. As is appropriate, and even more so this year, we always close this message with a sincere thank you to our employees, and it is more heartfelt than ever this year. They have done a truly outstanding job of rising to the unique challenge of this time. County government is generally held in high regard in our communities, and we know it's because of the many dedicated, hardworking public servants on our team. And while patience is still needed, you're starting to see the COVID pandemic diminish. Wildfire recovery is progressing, schools are reopening, and slowly our daily lives are adjusting. Together we are enduring these unprecedented challenges and will recover. It is a tribute to the resiliency of our partners, our county, our communities, and our people. Respectfully submitted, Lincoln County Board of Commissioners. All right, next item on the agenda would be the budget message, and that will be presented by our county budget officer and county finance director, Christina Shearer.
Hello. Again, I'm going to be reading these formally into the record, and we start with the smaller service districts in recognition that some stakeholders would want to see those first before we dive into the county budget proper. So we're going to be starting with the Lincoln County Transportation Service District, and as before, I'm going to read this in its entirety, and there will be room for questions when I am done. So with that, for the Lincoln County Transportation Service District, this budget portrays the expected financial performance of the Lincoln County Transportation Service District or district for fiscal year 2021-2022 and shows the operations of the district. The district formed in May 1996 as approved by voters in the general election. A tax rate of 0.0974 per thousand of assessed value was approved in the November 1996 general election. In conformance with Oregon Revised Statutes, Chapter 294, the budget is balanced between its revenues and expenditures. The district is budgeted using the modified accrual basis of accounting, recording revenues at the time they become measurable and available to finance expenditures of the current period, and recording expenditures at the time liabilities are incurred. Significant revenues include property taxes and federal and state grants. There are no major changes in financial policies anticipated in this fiscal year. The district is organized into one general operating fund appropriated by the categories of personnel services, materials and services, capital outlay, contingency, and ending balance. The 2021-2022 budget totaling $6,227,359 is $1,319,229 less than the prior year's budget. The fund's contingency is estimated at $575,000 for the 2021-2022 year, including compensated absences. There is also an unappropriated amount of $500,000 for a total anticipated ending fund balance of $1,075,000. This amount is 17% of the total fund.
All right,
At
I
this time,
think,
I'm going to turn it over to Cinda Bruce. Sorry.
yeah, I was going to say at this point, we'll turn over discussion and Director Bruce, welcome.
Good evening. It's good to see you all this evening. I would like to thank the county for getting our drivers moved up on the immunization schedule. Our drivers are now immunized at 100% along with the dispatch. I won't be getting my second shot till the 27th, but we're on a roll in transit. We have
Nice
we have a lot of exciting things going on in the transit department, many of which had to be put on hold during the COVID pandemic. We have some expansions that are going to be happening. The South County Loop, we're hoping to add Sunday service to the East County Loop. Also, we're looking at adding Sunday service. We've been able to manipulate the west side of Silet's transportation with our current driver pool. And that is what is holding us up a lot, are the availability of licensed drivers. One thing that Councilor Woodruff will be very excited to hear is our plans to move forward with our transit hub by Rays. I actually was able to go to Walport for a visit with your new planner, city planner, Holly. She's delightful, along with Dan. Dan must work in the planning department somewhere, but we had a really good conversation. We were able to send some rough drafts of things that we were looking at implementing, and we had to give the city, we kind of had to give them a bad time because it come back all different, which is great because we want our services to work for the city of Walport. So it's been a long time coming. South County has been underserved for quite some time, and it's really been a priority of mine to get that community the services they need. With all of the businesses moving up out of the tsunami zone, with the Samaritan Health Clinic, you know, further out of the way, the college, with the student transportation that we are providing now. In July, it will be, we are expanding that to grades 7 through 12 from 9 through 12. So these are such exciting things that we're looking at doing. I kind of got on a roll there and forgot where I was going with it. Does anybody have any questions, or would you like me to elaborate on anything?
I would like to say that I did hear about this exciting new service from Dan and Holly, and I was just blown away because I didn't realize it was coming, and it was like a great surprise. And thank you so very much for working on this. We really need it.
Absolutely. And actually the transit hub that we're looking at putting in at Ray's Market, we've actually been working on that program, on that project for 3 or 4 years.
Wow.
We had to get one grant to have ODOT come in and look at things and do designs and figure out the best way to put it together. Then that was phase 1. We got that grant, we completed it. We did a phase 2 grant and found out about 6 months ago that we were funded for that. So we will be getting a nice pole out in there, adding a bus shelter, a bike repair station, trash receptacles, And I think we probably better get some kind of a cigarette thing away from the shelter so people will use it and they don't make a mess.
Nice.
That's my hope. Yes, Katie?
Hold on here, I got lost on my computer. All right, I'm back, sorry. Go ahead, Katie.
Yeah, no worries. Director Bruce, I know that you've had some kind of conversations in the last year with kind of representatives and leaders from traditionally underrepresented groups in terms of helping make transit more inclusive to riders, and maybe help riders that need a little more help accessing those services. Can you kind of give us an update on where some of those things are?
Okay, so I have been working with the Cascades West group on their seamless transit. So now I'm involved in the Northwest Oregon and then our region too as well. So I'm starting to get spread thin, but it's been great for opportunities. Soon we will be using a token transit app. What that's going to allow us to do is to have passengers purchase passes like on their smartphone. We get complaints often because we do not have the ability to take credit cards. With this new program, they will be able to use our credit cards and purchase their own passes. When they get on the bus, they simply show their phone. The most exciting thing about that for me is the ability to do fare capping, which means if we come up with a monthly pass, say a $30 monthly pass, a lot of our incomes are low. A lot of our residents are very low income, and it's hard for them to put out $30 all at one time. But if they take use the service, once they've met that $30 threshold, when they show their phone, it's going to show their ticket is already paid. So it's going to allow for some folks, and I really need to share that most of our ridership isn't choice. They are not choice riders. They ride because they have no other way. Public transit sometimes is a little harder. You have to work at it a bit. And so for those who really need it, having the ability to afford it is just really crucial. And let's see. Yes, we've expanded our student transportation. Some other things we are looking at for next fiscal year. We are looking for lowering the cost of our Costa Valley Express. Tillamook County did a fare survey, a very comprehensive one with some consultants. And I kept waiting for them to up their cost on their Lincoln City to Salem route because it's pretty much identical in miles and geographics as our Costa Valley. But what they come back with was $6 each way was a good fare to have on that service. So we are actually looking at reducing the fare on our Costa Valley Express from $10 down to $6. We will no longer give senior and disabled discounts because the new fare is $1 less than the senior and disabled discount used to be. So it will simplify the amount of categories for passengers and drivers, and hopefully allow people to get over to the valley, over to Amtrak or the Groom Transportation to get to the airport, or Greyhound, or over to OSU, or OSU folks over here to the Marine Hatfield Center, or for recreation. There's so many uses for that service, including medical.
All right. Other questions from committee members? Well, while you may be thinking, I'll ask. Excuse me. The last couple of years, Cindy, I've seen a lot of the budget shows significant increases in capital expenditures and expenditures in general. I know that the revenues to support that are coming from the payroll tax, which is 1/10%, and that payroll goes back to the area where the employee works, not lives. So, and that was part of the legislature's 2017 transportation package that was passed by them that year. So maybe you could expand a little bit on how some of those monies have been spent and how some of them are planned to be expended in the coming year.
Okay. So some of our projects for the first year didn't get up and running. We felt it was a bad idea to expand services during our COVID pandemic. We didn't want to encourage that. So some of our funds were carried forward, and some of those funds are going to be used for one-time purchases because I don't want to start ongoing services that are going to cost more than what we have coming in. So it actually gave us a chance to use some of the funding for some match funds for other grants we're bringing in. Bus stop signs and installation, that's on our list as a one-time expenditure. Marketing transit services, as we start moving forward with these enhancements, we want the communities to be aware of them so that they use the services. And those are pretty much, of course, a contingency. We always have a contingency and reserve put up.
Are we looking at some buses and maybe some different, what should I say, design or buses to meet a variety of different uses?
We are within the last 3 weeks, we've received 7 buses in, 5 category C's, 2 category B's. I have some funding over the next biennium that's going to bring in 6 more vehicles. So that'll be a total of 13. We have a fleet of about 19, and I have to rotate the procurement of those so that we have our new buses and our backup buses, and then the ones that we're retiring. So it's kind of a little bit of a juggling act because we have federal and state requirements on miles and years for the buses. So we have to watch those very closely.
All right.
So some of the other funding we'll be purchasing buses, Doug, but on our STIF projects for this year, we have the low income fare, which we're going to come up with a monthly fare. And I want to just add to that. We have people, say like in Lincoln City or other areas, Walport, that they cost like $3 one way. So if you figure $6 round trip to get to work and back, and then a week of that, that's like $30. Like that can be cost prohibitive for some of our low wage jobs that we have in the area. So being able to afford those folks to keep working, we have a lot of help wanted signs around. With a low income fare will help with economic development, I'm hoping, as well as their own personal lives. The South County Loop, we are looking at adding a 10-hour day Sunday, then that service will operate 7 days a week. We have the South County Loop. We're going to put together a Walport City Circular. That service we have scheduled to operate Monday through Saturday, 8 hours a day. That's what we funded for that. We have our East County expansion that's going to add Sunday service, 8 hours a day. And we've already started the West Side service down by the rec center and some childcare, low-income housing. They have a lot of things on the West Side that we're now going past, including the charter school for the student transportation portion of our budget. School transportation, we're expanding that from grade 9 through 12 to 7th grade to 12th grade. A lot of our high schools are actually combined junior, senior high school. So it made a lot of sense to me, you know, having some kids be able to get on and others not makes it kind of a hardship. So that just made a lot of sense. We've already.
Go ahead. I know that Commissioner Hall has a question, but go ahead, Cindy, wrap it up. And
Okay, we're going to be adding a midday loop on the Costa Valley route. So there'll be 3 round trips instead of 2, so people don't get stuck on one side or the other. And I'm going to wrap it up there.
All right, great information. And I will say that when you look at the county's commitment to diversity, equity, and inclusion, public transportation is certainly a large part of that. So good work. And with that, Commissioner Hall, you have a question or comment?
Yes, I do have a few things, Mr. Chair, and to echo what you just shared. For many years on my office wall, I had a graphic, a photo of one of our buses with the caption to the effect of all the human services in the world aren't useful if people can't get to them. So that really underscores this point. So Cinda, hi, miss seeing you as frequently as I once did, but let me just say I'm really excited about all of these program expansions. And as always, I know you manage your budget in a way not to take these steps unless it's something that's going to be sustainable. I appreciate that. Just a couple of things. Could I ask you to elaborate a little bit more on the low income fare? Exactly what is the threshold to qualify for that, and what exactly do people have to do essentially to let you know that they do qualify and they want to make use of that?
So when part of the initial STIF process that our STIF committee had to go through for Lincoln County was to identify the areas or communities that met the low income threshold. And we did that by comparing it to the state level. And what we found out was all of Lincoln County is considered low income. So there will be no eligibility process. So like I said, I would really like to come up with a monthly pass, because right now people are paying $30 for $41 tickets, which is great. It's a 25% discount. But for our truly low income people who are using the system, that is still a lot of money. Because oftentimes it takes several of those $40 coupon passes to get them through a month. That's just not, we're not taking care of the needs of our low income folks. And I just really need to get on board with that.
So just in my own mind, to clarify that you're saying the entire county qualifies, so this won't be a essentially 2-step or 2-level fare system, that this will essentially be a fare subsidy for all riders?
Yes.
Thank you. Well, that's great.
That's correct. And let me tell you that the biggest majority of our riders are truly very, very low income, poverty level folks.
Yeah, and also folks maybe who simply cannot, as a result of that, cannot afford to maintain a vehicle. I mean, one eye-opening number I remember about, at least to me, about 3 years ago in my role as with the Community Services Consortium Board, and there was the update of the Head Start assessment. There's 160 slots in CSC Head Start, and that year they were represented by 160 families, and fully 1/3 of those families did not have a private car. And since the Head Start buses had fallen victim to budget cuts, they found people were essentially relying on county transit, catching rides with friends, getting around on bicycles or by foot. So yeah, this is very, very good for so many reasons. My second question, and I know this is one that I've brought up with you before, because almost every year I have a handful of people ask me about it, and going back to your earlier discussion of vehicle replacement, people are wondering, they sometimes see publicity about this happening with larger transit systems. When might it be possible or practical for us to start integrating hybrid or even all electric vehicles into our fleet?
So I have had ongoing conversations with our fleet manager regarding electric vehicles. And he really feels that electric vehicles would work best on like city loops or dial-a-rides where they're not too far away in case something goes wrong. Battery-powered buses are starting to be utilized. Some of the bigger operators, TriMet and Lane Transit District, just got in quite a few of them. So I see us getting closer to that, Claire. I just want to make sure they get the bugs out of them. They're coming up with longer battery life and improvements that I just want to feel comfortable before I take that jump. And there's also been providers who've had really good luck retrofitting their buses to propane. I guess there's hardly no maintenance, but we would need infrastructure for that as well.
All right, thank you for those updates.
Yes.
All right, great information, Cinda. Other questions from the committee? All right, seeing none, we will again have an opportunity to discuss this special district budget at our next budget meeting. And if there's nothing more for Cinda, we'll move on to our next special district, which is solid waste.
Thank you.
All right, Chris, Director Shearer.
All right. For the Lincoln County Solid Waste Disposal Service District, this budget portrays the expected financial performance of the Lincoln County Solid Waste Disposal Service District or district for fiscal year 2021-2022 and shows the operations of the district. The district was formed in accordance with Oregon Revised Statutes, ORS, Chapter 451. The district's functions are to coordinate solid waste management planning throughout the county, to implement waste reduction, to foster recycling education and promotion programs, and to coordinate illegal dumping enforcement, prevention, and cleanup. In conformance with Oregon Revised Statutes, Chapter 294, this budget is balanced between its revenue and expenditures. The district is budgeted using the modified accrual basis of accounting recording revenues at the time they become measurable and available to finance expenditures of the current period, and recording expenditures at the time liabilities are incurred. This fund is classified as an enterprise fund, relying on a $4 per ton surcharge on Lincoln County waste disposed as its main revenue source. There are no major changes in financial policies anticipated in this fiscal year. The district budget is comprised of one general operating fund appropriated by the expenditure categories of personnel services, materials and services, capital outlay, contingency, and ending balance. The district's general fund is organized into two departments, one to provide for general district programs, and the other enables increased forest enforcement activities funded as a cooperative public-private effort through the district, the county's sheriff department, and the Association of Concerned Landowners. The 2021-2022 budget is $1,133,664, or $90,840 more than the prior year's budget. The district's ending balance is comprised of $65 reserved for compensated absences and a contingency of $77,295. The combined contingency and ending balance is 65% of the total fund.
All right, and normally we would have Paul, who is the Director of Solid Waste, present, but he's not able to join us tonight. But I know Director Kenyon, who oversees solid waste operations, is present. And any comments, Director Kenyon? I know again that normally Paul would be addressing the committee.
Yes, I'm Roy Kenyon. I'm the Public Works Director for Lincoln County, and Paul's absence is 110% my fault.
Hey, I was trying to cover for you, my friend.
Well, you know what? When you screw up, you got to own up to it. You know, it seems like Paul has been here forever, and it didn't even dawn on me to talk to him about the budget process, because I wasn't thinking that he wasn't even involved in it last year. And so this would have been his first budget meeting. If you remember, you hired him in June, and he was just getting his feet on the ground when Echo Mountain Fire started, and he's been immersed in that since. And now things are actually starting to come back towards normal. I know Paul has been working very hard on a sustainability program. He kind of bounces ideas off of all of us here in the office. He's looking at a very visual outreach. He's working on posters. He's working on promotions. He's working on a little bit of everything. And so that's enough about Paul. I'll make sure that the next meeting, the 18th, that he is actually here to actually speak a little more from the solid waste side. If there's any budget questions, he can answer them then. If you have any budget questions now, I can sure take a whack at it. I help him with the budget, but when it comes to the expense side and where all the expenses actually go, that would be probably a little weaker area for me, but fire away.
Did I see Sue raise her hand? Yes, go ahead, Sue.
Actually, I'm back on the SWAC committee, and also Paul has put together an education committee. We are working on such fun projects. The sustainability effort is going to be under that moniker of coastal character, and all of the things that we're doing will support that in trying to not only educate our residents, but our visitors about Lincoln County and the way we want it to be sustainable and beautiful. He's a bundle of ideas, and he's a great designer as well. So he's very well placed to be leading us into exciting new territory. I'm just having great fun being on the committee.
SWAC is the Solid Waste Advisory Committee for those that may be listening. Any questions? Again, I think if there are questions, certainly Paul would be able to answer them at our next meeting. I'll note that the budget's really pretty straightforward. No dramatic changes. I will note on a positive side, the reserves seem to be building. Beginning balances seem to be building. So that is a positive. And this is the only special district that is not supported by property taxes, as is noted in the budget officer's comments. There's a $4 per ton fee that's charged to the users of our solid waste operators in the county. Any other questions or comments? Commissioner Jacobs.
I'll make a comment, and I wish Paul were here to hear this, but I'll say it to him next week when he's here as well, which is that I think as Director Kenyon mentioned, relatively new employee for us, it does feel like he has been here a long time because he's been with us through a series of major events in the county, including a fire. I think, the job that his predecessor did and the job that Paul is currently doing, while the position description is the same, entirely different jobs based on the task that we have ahead of ourselves with the Echo Mountain Fire cleanup. So just a big thank you to Paul for just being super flexible and coming in and helping us through this kind of difficult time.
Any other comments? I think Paul's going to get off easy next week. I don't think there are any questions from the committee at this time. So thank you, Director Kenyon. And if there are no more questions, we'll move on to our next special district.
Right, and I would encourage everyone to think of some questions for him for the next meeting. Well, because he's very enthused in what he's doing, and he really wants to sell that, and so he would enjoy some questions. So put your thinking caps on. So thank you very much.
Thank you. And we'll come up with some questions, I'm sure, next meeting. All right, back to you, Director Shearer, and we're now ready for the Lincoln County Animal Services District budget.
Okay, for the Animal Services District. This budget portrays the expected financial performance of the Lincoln County Animal Services District for fiscal year 2021-2022 and shows the operations of the district. The district was approved by voters in the general election of November 2012 with a tax rate of 11 cents per thousand of assessed value. In conformance with Oregon Revised Statutes, Chapter 294, this budget is balanced between its revenue and expenditures. The district is budgeted using the modified accrual basis of accounting, recording revenues at the time they become measurable and available to finance expenditures of the current period, and recording expenditures at the time liabilities are incurred. Significant revenues include property taxes, dog license fees, and other animal shelter fees. No major changes in financial policies are anticipated for this fiscal year. The district is organized into one general operating fund appropriated by the categories of personnel services, materials and services, capital outlay, contingency, and ending balance. The district's general fund contains two program departments, one for the activities related to animal control and the second for the operation of the animal shelter. The 2021-2022 budget in the amount of $1,215,483 is $179,876 less than the prior year's budget. This is due to countywide efforts to control costs and is more in line with historical expenditures. The fund's contingency is estimated at $56,291 for the 2021-2022 fiscal year. The district's ending balance is comprised of this contingency and a reserve for compensated absences of $22,044. The combined ending balance is 5% of the total fund.
All right, thank you. And I see our district manager, Laura Ireland, is with us. Laura, welcome, and please share some comments.
Thank you. Good evening, everyone. One big change that we made this year is we actually had to have the allocation of the tax revenue go 55% to the animal shelter and 45% to the animal services. And that's a shift from 65-35 that we historically have done. And that's the only way to be able to cover all of the expenses on the animal services side. And then as you see, our contingency, is a lot lower than it has been in the past. It's been pretty recent that we have had the indirect cost allocation charged to our fund, and so that has kind of reduced kind of our or increased our expenses quite a bit. So we're really kind of this is very end of us being able to kind of how we've been able to allocate funding in the past, and we'll need to probably have those conversations pretty soon about what we want to do going forward. But we are able to cover all of our expenses this year. And again, with the new shelter, we're very excited to be moving forward on that. And of course, with us being in temporary buildings, there was a kind of funding provided by the county to make sure that we were in those buildings. We did have to kind of increase a lot of our expenditures in terms of furniture and equipment to be able to kind of outfit what we needed in the new or in our temporary building. And then of course, moving forward, we're kind of in a place where we're not exactly sure how else is going to go. But other than that, there's kind of no real big surprises for next year's budget.
Questions from the committee? Commissioner Hall.
Thank you, Chair Hunt, and thank you, Director Ireland. And, I just want to give you a chance to acknowledge that about this time last year, you certainly weren't expecting anything out of the ordinary as you were just getting settled into your new temporary digs. And then come the beginning of September and the Echo Mountain fire. And I just would like to give you a chance here to acknowledge the really magnificent way that your team, sheriffs, the larger community, volunteers came together to make sure that animal needs as well as human needs were met in that tragedy.
Yeah, thank you. That even this year with COVID, we normally have 100 volunteers that help us, about 100 volunteers that help us at the shelter, and all sorts of the work that we do, and having to limit the number of people who are in our building definitely changed a lot of our operations and put a lot of, the staff have really stepped up in terms of what we're able to do for caring for animals without as many volunteers. And then, yes, and the fires happened, and, we've worked really hard to have people think about their animals as they prepare for any sort of natural and man-made disasters. And we definitely saw, that during wildfires, people are going to arrive with their animals. And fortunately, we were really prepared in order to provide supplies for people that needed them. And kind of silver lining with us having to set up a temporary shelter over at the Commons when the building was first demolished, is we had a lot of panels that we were able to make temporary shelter kennels. And so we were quickly able to create kind of an emergency shelter, expand our operations at the shelter. We had already established some great relationships with Salty Dog up in Lincoln City, who had helped us through that time, and they helped a lot with the fires up there, with the animals who needed emergency boarding. And of course, the animal services deputies did an amazing job. I think it's, having animal services be part of the sheriff's office, and with, our team of emergency management and search and rescue being part of patrol, we all know each other, work together, train together, that we were able to get behind fire lines and make sure that animals were cared for and evacuated is very different than a lot of other, I've responded to a lot of different disasters. And with animal response, and being embedded in the team made a huge difference in terms of what our response was able to do. So definitely appreciate that we are part of an animal loving community, and all of our first responders understand and appreciate and wanted to do all that they could to save animals as well. So I think kudos to everyone who helped make sure that those furry family members were taken care of as well.
All right, are there other questions for Laura? I know the sheriff may want to offer some comments. I understand Wiley Thompson from the Extension Office may like to address us.
Yeah, I just want to echo some of the things that Director Ireland said. I mean, the animal services deputies being out there in the front line, reuniting, rehoming the animals, really was a leader statewide in some of the efforts that they were doing. Director Ireland actually published an article for the State Sheriff's Association magazine to go out to all the citizens statewide that subscribe to that, about the efforts, but they just did a tremendous job as far as being up there. And, it was, the work is just amazing with the animals and how many people had to leave animals behind. And caring for those animals to get them rehomed, tremendous efforts during that. And, it was a true testament to the plans that Laura had in place ahead of the disaster, and setting those up with Jenny Damaris, Emergency Management, working so closely behind the scenes before the event that made that happen. The plans were in place, and we just followed those and did the work that they did. So it's just a great job of everyone in that for a very difficult year.
All right, any other questions or comments from Laura? I understand, I'm confused. It's getting late. Wiley, I believe you are waiting to address us on the next budget, so apologize for the confusion. And Emily, also, I know you'll address us then too. I will just make a note that for people that may be watching and are wondering about, gee, where's the money for the new animal shelter that we are building? It's in a separate fund, and I was quickly trying to find the fund in the budget, but it's a separate fund. It's a capital construction project, so it's not included in the this budget here. Is that correct, Director Shearer?
That is correct. It is in the Capital Projects Fund, which is Fund 219, and I'm looking up the page right now. It is in the printed budget document. It's on page 1, starting on page 121.
So again, that would, if there are questions about that, that would be a part of the county budget discussion. But for clarity of people that may be watching, I thought that was good information to share.
And they made, and to expand again on that, Commissioner Hunt, people may notice a couple of years ago in the budget, there was a transfer out of $150,000 that we originally did when we anticipated having to buy a location to replace the animal shelter. Obviously, we're in agreement and discussions with the city of Newport for the location out at the airport for the new shelter. But that transfer out is part of the capital project of the funding that's going to move forward. So that's another placeholder in the budget that was used, that was still available. So people had questions about that transfer out. with that budget. That's where that funding is also.
Okay, thank you, Sheriff. All right, if there are no questions for Laura, we'll move on to our final special district. And that would be the Lincoln County Extension Service District. And back to you, Director Shearer.
Okay. This budget portrays the expected financial performance of the Lincoln County Extension Service District or district for fiscal year 2021-2022 and shows the operations of the district. The Extension Agency for Lincoln County is operated in conjunction with Oregon State University and the Extension Advisory Committee. The district was approved by voters in the general election of November 1988 and has a tax rate of 0.0451 per 1,000 of assessed value. In conformance with Oregon Revised Statutes, Chapter 294, this budget is balanced between its revenue and expenditures. The district is budgeted using the modified accrual basis of accounting, recording revenues at the time they become measurable and available to finance expenditures of the current period, and recording expenditures at the time liabilities are incurred. Significant revenues include property taxes. No major changes in financial policies are anticipated for this fiscal year. The district is organized into one general operating fund appropriated by the categories of materials and services, capital outlay, contingency, and ending balance. No personnel costs are budgeted in this fund. Quarterly payments made to Oregon State University support numerous agency programs. Some small grants flow through this fund to facilitate some programs. Other expenditures incurred by the county, such as audit and budget preparation costs, plus the district's annual lease payment to the county general fund, are included in the materials and services category of this fund. The 2021-2022 budget in the amount of $1,241,834 is $3,995 less than the prior year. The fund is carrying a contingency of $287,834, a reserve for future lease payments of $130,000, a reserve for program development of $175,000, and an unappropriated ending balance of $160,000, comprising a total ending balance of $752,834. The combined ending balance is 61% of the total fund.
All right, and we do have two representatives here to address us tonight. And certainly I'll let Wiley and Emily decide who'd like to go first. And of course, Emily is the office manager of the extension extension operations here. And Wiley, you're kind of a regional guy.
Yes, Commissioner Hunt, kind of a regional guy. That might be the nicest thing I've been called recently. So
join the club, but you are the regional director and our liaison with OSU.
Absolutely. Thank you. And I'd really like to thank Christina Shearer for her work. I have, in my time, I have had this role with 13 counties, and she is certainly one of the best to work with. And we do appreciate her partnership in preparing this and kind of keeping the resources flowing in check to keep our programming going. To really this group, I'd like to introduce Emily formally. Emily was hired during the pandemic, and you all might remember Liz Olson previously. So Emily has taken on that role as the administrative office manager, and she's day to day the one who takes the resources, brings them from the county, and puts them into an executable fashion to allow us to do programming and serve the people from of Lincoln County. So she makes these resources available so that we can translate that into something good for the community. And so I appreciate the team I have. I couldn't be in a better position. A couple of things that I'd just like to bring out is new this year is we added a program discussion. So previously we really didn't have much of what we actually do for the community in written form, a written narrative. And Christina appropriately said, hey, you all are, you're well funded, and we are grateful for that to the people of Lincoln County. But what do they see if they don't access extension services? What do they see that tells them what they're getting for their money? And so we've put together a program discussion, and we'll continue to update that every year. I think the one thing I really want to bring up is, and Lincoln has been a county that I've engaged with most on COVID and in response to COVID. We have seen some opportunities in the funding we have had, and what COVID did for us is it sort of shined this light in some dark corners and exposed some really pre-existing vulnerabilities, lack of access that have always been there, but we were either too busy or encumbered with our normal lives to see how others in our community were suffering or being held back. And Emily stepped right in and started working the budget to apply funding to areas and create flexibility so that we could respond. And we've had a group that we're working with a number of partners, Olala Center, your folks from Public Health, and some community superstars to make videos for COVID awareness and outreach. We worked really hard on the vaccine awareness. We've had I think 8 listening sessions to date that we've held in Mom and Spanish to reach out to the communities. Right now we have 3 students from OSU who speak Spanish who are working at your vaccination centers, as we call them vaccination navigators, because they're doing more than just interpretation. They're going through the whole experience with those families or those people in need. And I know Lincoln County, right now, the stats say in terms of what percent population, you all may be right behind Benton, but in terms of percent complete, you all are leading the state in vaccinations. And I think some of that comes from those communities that are hard to reach. So it's been great to see some of our extension folks do that. We've been able to apply some funding to folks like Beatriz Boteo Salgado, who many of you know, who is a SNAP employee, and SNAP limits the opportunities where you can only serve SNAP eligible populations. So some of the county funds, we've been able to give her some family community health time to really open up where she can serve people in the community. So we couldn't be more grateful for the resources that you all provide, because then that gives us a chance to be responsive to the needs of the community. And we would like to see these opportunities continue to grow. So unless Emily has any questions or anything to offer, I'd like to just open up to your questions.
Emily, any words to share? Yeah, we can't hear you if you're talking. All right, well, we'll move on to any questions that the committee may have for Wiley. I saw Commissioner Jacobson's hand first, so.
I'll let Commissioner Hall go first. I'll go after her.
All right. Time is yield to you, Commissioner Hall.
Thank you to both of my colleagues. I just saw a message pop up in the chat from Emily saying that her mic was not working, and no questions. I just really wanted to say, as I spend a good part of today going through the budget book, I took note of the new narrative of OSU Extension's work, and just wanted to say I think it's a great addition to the budget book, and one more tool, I think, in really making this a document that, as we've been working toward for years, not just an internal budgeting and management tool, but really a tool for communications with the larger public about what all the programs are that take place under the county umbrella and our special district umbrellas as well. So just wanted to say thanks.
All right.
Thank you, Commissioner, but I really have to give the props to Christina. She's the one that prompted that to happen.
All right.
I will say they jumped in with enthusiasm. It's great to have an opportunity to tell a good story, and Extension is a great story to tell.
Good work. Commissioner Jacobson?
Yeah, and I apologize. My puppy has never been squeaking her squeaky toy, so hopefully that won't be too annoying. I just want to say a big thank you to Extension. I think true partnership really shows in times of crisis, and when it gets hard, it's easy to be partners when things are going well. It's harder to be partners when things aren't going well. We've certainly had that over the last year and a half, and I feel like they really came to help us out. One of the things that Wiley did not mention that I do want to mention is that they've also been very helpful to us in our wildfire recovery efforts, lending us Celia August, one of the administrative people, to help with our mass efforts and interviewing survivors and hopefully finding services to get them transitioned out of hotels. So Celia was a big part of that. In fact, I still think we maybe owe you some money for that we haven't finalized yet. We'll have to work on that, but just
it's in the budget,
right? So a big thank you.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt, Commissioner Jacobson.
You're fine.
Go ahead.
Oh, nothing more from me.
All right. Anyone else? Well, I will share a couple of thoughts. Number one, as has already been said, I think the addition of the program discussion, whether it was Christina's idea or Wiley's the one that acted or Emily's the one that wrote it, I think it's a great addition. Throughout the years, we've had a variety of presentations before the Board of Commissioners, and I think this program discussion kind of fits all the pieces of that puzzle together. And I'm going to take time to just actually read the different categories. You've got Lincoln County 4-H, you've got staff education, you've got family and community health, you've got master gardeners, you've got small farms, you've got Oregon Sea Grant, which of course is where Katie was employed before she became a county commissioner. And you've got the OSU Forestry and Natural Resources Extension. So again, I think it's a great addition to the budget and really provides some clarity. And the last thing I'll say is I think, Wiley, I owe you I guess a footnote, if you will, to the budget message. I think you were the first person I heard say, we need to build back better. And I paraphrased that into rebuild better. So thank you for that. And I think, as has been mentioned by several, your actions have truly walked the talk of building back better. So thank you for that.
You're very welcome.
Any other questions or comments on the extension budget? I don't know, we're losing people. I don't know if that's a good sign or a bad sign, but we're down to 10 in our group. All right, again, thank you both, Wiley and Emily. And we'll move on to the county budget. And back to you, Director Shearer.
Okay, last of these formal readings, but this is the longest one, so I'll ask you to bear with me. So this is the Lincoln County budget message. This budget document portrays the expected financial performance of Lincoln County for the fiscal year 2021-2022. In conformance with Oregon revised statutes, the budget appropriates the operations of the general fund on a program basis. The three appropriation programs are general government operations, public safety, and community services. Each main program has various departments within it that are shown by the categories of personnel services, materials and services, capital outlay, and special payments. The remaining funds of the county are appropriated by the categories personnel services, materials and services, and capital outlay. Additionally, all funds include separate appropriations for debt service, transfers, and contingency where applicable. Special reserve balances and unappropriated ending balances are included where needed. All funds are presented as balanced between revenue and expenditures as required by Oregon Revised Statutes, Chapter 294. This document is organized on a fund basis. County funds are budgeted and accounted for on the modified accrual basis of accounting. Revenues are recorded at the time they become measurable and available to finance expenditures of the current period, and expenditures are recorded at the time liabilities are incurred, except for interfund transactions, which are recorded on the accrual basis. No major changes in financial policies are anticipated in this fiscal year. Property tax revenue is the single biggest source of revenue for the county. The county's permanent tax rate remains at $2.8202 per thousand of assessed valuation. Other major revenues include intergovernmental revenue, grants and payments received from federal, state, and other local governments, a 10% transient room tax, permits and fees charged for specific activities in the county, and charges for services, amounts charged for direct service provided by the county. The 2021-22 budget totals $120,568,668, an increase from the current year of $2,204,234. This 1.9% increase is minimal compared to past years and reflects county efforts to contain costs and reflect the continued uncertainties surrounding the future in light of the COVID-19 pandemic and the wildfire recovery efforts. The combined countywide contingency and reserve categories amount to $27,206,512, which is 23% of the total county budget. The graph below depicts the activity distribution expected for 2021-2022. And for those of you that may be following along in the document, that is on page 9 of the document that was distributed. I'm not going to go over the graph, but I'm going to read the rest. The total general fund proposed budget is $45,388,774. In the general fund, personnel services are decreasing by $1,331,975, a 5% decrease versus the current budget. Materials and services are decreasing by 13%, or $1,530,494, largely due to a shift of some community justice programs to the newly established Community Justice Fund. Capital outlay is decreasing by 79%, or $344,500 from the 2020-2021 fiscal year. The combined contingency and reserve categories for the general fund for fiscal year 2021-2022 are estimated at $6,074,071, representing 13% of the fund's expenditures.
All right, thank you. This will be the opportunity for budget members to ask questions. A lot of material there, and I will look for raised hands or green microphones if there are any questions or comments. Councilor Woodruff.
Commissioner Hunt, I wondered if you could do a brief explanation of how the internal service charges are distributed. How is there a formula for that?
You want me to take a whack at that?
Yes, please.
In general, yes, there is a fixed allocation. It's based on general county overhead and its relative percentage. But internal services charges in the budget can encompass both internal and direct allocations. It also can be interfund charges for a department that provides services to another department. And so those would be budgeted and allocated based on the agreed upon rate. So for instance, when the roads department provides a service, the roads department has a billing rate that they use, and that would show up as an internal service charge. when the vehicle replacement fund is funding vehicles to be replaced in the future, those charges are budgeted as an indirect or sorry, an allocated charge. And so even though there is one line, there is many methodologies depending on what department and what activity you're talking about. Does that answer your question in an overview at least?
Yes, and is that based on the previous year's overhead, et cetera?
In some cases, in terms of indirect, it's an estimate of the current year of the next budget year's charges. Okay. So we use the prior fiscal year as a baseline, and then we adjust as necessary for the future year.
And is there a similar methodology for the rent charges? Because I see that they fluctuate a lot. I'm used to a building costs so much, and maybe each year it goes up a little bit, but there seems to be something else at play when I look at the rent charges for the different departments.
Rent is an interesting category. It largely depends on whether it's rent paid by a independent or a non-general fund back to the general fund, or whether it's rent paid to an external entity for actual rent. And so I think I'm going to have to say I'm going to need more specifics on that question before I can answer it. So which fund and which department is the rent, which charge are you questioning? Because like I say, each fund has a different rent, whether they're renting a building from the county or whether they're renting it from the open market, and that can dramatically affect what gets charged in rent.
I guess I can ask you that question via email, because I don't have all those different numbers in the tip of my tongue, but I just see, that it doesn't follow a pattern. Normally if you rent something every year, it's similar unless you move or the rent will go up a little bit, but sometimes it goes down. It seems to just fluctuate in a way that doesn't look like my normal experience of rent.
Okay, yeah, I'd certainly be happy to sit down and go through that with you. Like I say, I don't have a quick answer for you because I'm not sure I'm necessarily following.
Thank you.
Anything else? Sue?
Not at the moment.
Fair enough. Well, I'll ask a couple of questions, and I think I understand, but I think it's good information that we share. And I'll refer to page 19 of the budget, and there is the PS budget adjustments. In the current budget, it's 2 million, and in the proposed budget, it's 2 million. But as you look through the individual departments, oftentimes there's a significant difference between the personnel services in the current budget versus the proposed budget. And Christina, would you explain why that appears the way it is? And I'll set you up a little bit. In the remarks that I read, talks about a vacancy factor. So you can go from there.
Okay. Yes, our normal historical practice when it comes to personal services is to budget the total estimated cost for all authorized positions, whether they're vacant or not. And if they are vacant, we budget them at step one, and full benefits. We also estimate the steps that will be awarded for existing employees throughout in any given year, and apply any cost of living adjustments that we believe will be in place. This will either be driven by existing contracts or assumptions that we make when preparing the budget. When we prepared our initial round of personal services budget estimates for fiscal 21, which is the current year that we're in, and it's the budget column on our budget pages, we included all steps, all COLAs, and fully funded positions. But then we backed off some of those using this personal services budget adjustment to reflect the fact that we're not going to have all of those positions fully occupied for the entire year. And even those positions that we do have budgeted fully, we may actually end up turning those over during the year. And we're in a sense, replacing a higher paid, more experienced employee with a newer, less expensive employee who may or may not have the same level of benefits as well. And so that this personal services adjustment is an attempt to capture those savings that traditionally happen without any action on our part. We just underspend our budget, and that's okay. But we're trying to capture those on the front end. The other thing is, in recognition of the fact that we were trying to capture those personal services savings, in fiscal 21, which is the current fiscal year, managers, directors, elected officials, and non-represented employees did not receive a cost of living adjustment for fiscal 21. We did budget one, though. So in those baseline wage categories, those include the assumption of a 2% COLA that we did not award. For fiscal 22, not only did we not pay those in fiscal 21, we didn't budget them this year either. So that's why, especially in the categories of elected official, directors, managers, and non-represented employees, it looks like our budget went down in personal services. And it did. But it's not because we reduced any positions. It's just because we changed the way that we budgeted those positions for fiscal 22. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does.
Okay. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Hahn?
Yes, and one of the differences is, and you may have mentioned this, I may have missed it, is rather than assigning the vacancy factor to the different departments, it's done on a higher level, and you can see the result of that change, and I'm looking for the page in the budget, but somewhere there's the vacancy factor is consolidated.
Yeah, I'll draw your attention, if you've got your budget in front of you. For example, I'm going to show you first how we did it last year, which is if you go to page 30, which is the finance department, and you look under the budget column for fiscal 2021, you'll see a personal services adjustment in there, which is where we're backing off that to recognize vacancy savings. So in fiscal 21, we actually budgeted that department by department. For fiscal 22, you notice that line is blank. There's nothing there in the finance department. But if you turn to page 40, in the general other government fund departments, there is a consolidated position adjustment of $729,000. This is for the entire general government program. And so what we did is, rather than allocating it on a department basis, we just allocated it by program, which aligns it with the way we actually appropriate the general fund, which is by program, not by department. Thank you for pointing that out. I forgot to mention that.
Yep, no, I think that completes the picture. Are there any questions from my fellow committee members on that aspect? Otherwise, I'll move on to the new county administrator position. Go ahead, Mayor, former Mayor.
So I don't know if Sheriff Landers is still on the line.
He left.
Okay. I know that he wrote an epistle to the commissioners about the problems between non-representatives and representative employees and the difficulties that it's causing with hiring people, and some people not wanting to be promoted because it shifts what happens to them as far as their salary and benefits are concerned. So I'm sure that, I don't know if this is a sort of a temporary thing that the county's going through with foregoing COLAs and some of that. What's the commissioner's take on that?
Well, I'll try to respond first, and certainly my fellow commissioners can add or contradict. I think it's recognized that one of the challenges we have countywide is what's the incentive for people to seek advancement. And one of the challenges that we have is with collective bargaining agreements, some of those increases are, if you will, baked in, and there's nothing we can do until the end of that contract. At the same time, I feel as a commissioner, I have a fiduciary responsibility to make decisions that are in the best interests of maintaining financial soundness for the community. And without money, we're not going to deliver any services. So it's not ideal, but it's the outcome or the consequence of having collective bargaining agreements that are increases in rising costs are fixed in advance, and budgets are only a plan, and over time the financial circumstances may change, and we have to make decisions to try to address that challenge, which results in the problem that you've identified. Commissioner Jacobson?
Yeah, I guess I didn't entirely understand your question. Stu, was it about kind of the differences between rep and non-rep employees? Was that kind of what you were getting at, or maybe you could restate it a little bit?
Yeah, because of the consequences of that, where, the non-representative employees are basically, they're losing ground against what the representative employees are doing, and in the sense of somebody who is at the point where they may be looking at an advancement, which would normally be a benefit for them financially. It's no longer a benefit, and I guess the reason it has a particular importance in our kind of where we live and our county, because we are all recognize that getting people to come here and live here and perform the jobs that we have available is difficult for a number of reasons that we all are aware of. And this just seems to be one more thing that works against us as far as attracting and keeping good talent in our county. And I certainly recognize what Commissioner Hunt is saying, the reality of numbers and what the county or any organization has to do to remain sustainable. But I guess I also recognize that I think that we're further handicapping ourselves from getting the talent that we need to stay here.
Okay, thank you. I get your question now. I guess one of the things I would just add to what Commissioner Hunt said is that the recent or fairly recently passed Pay Equity Act does actually level some of that out. I'm not going to say it solves all the problems, but it does level some of it out, because Pay Equity Act looks at across entire employers, regardless of collective bargaining units within inside an employer. So for example, if you have a nurse in one part of the county doing one thing, like HHS, for example, and then you have a nurse in another part of the county, like jail, doing something, those are comparables now. It's not about a department inside a larger employment unit, rather across that whole employer. So we did have some pay equity research done, and they're actually kind of in the middle of going through that right now, and I guess making those adjustments and kind of understanding what was brought up. So, that is a tool in some regard. I think that has helped us level some of that out. Like I said, it doesn't solve everything, but I think it has helped. And I would just add that I think also, you know, ensuring that we continue to have a good benefits package is also part of this. It's not just about salary, right? But if you're paying huge out of pockets for bills and things like that, obviously that's not very attractive either. And so we trying to make sure that as best we can, we stay up to date with healthcare costs and you know, have packages that are competitive, or at least as competitive as they can be, I think is a big help in that beyond just the pay piece.
I'd also add too that it's been a practice that the commissioners have treated the non-represented employees the same as represented employees as best we can, but that's certainly the objective.
Well, thank you for that further input. I know we all try to do the best we can. I know you guys do too. It's like all the rest of us.
It can be challenging at times, but you know, the objective and the effort is there.
Yep.
If there's nothing more on that, the last thing I'd like to bring up is briefly the new county well, it's not a new fund, but we've changed some of the funding. Actually, it is a new fund. The County Administration Fund, which is on page 28. This is the new fund that's been created, recognizing that Council Belmont, who is still with us tonight, will be retiring at the end of this fiscal year. And the Board of Commissioners decided that rather than hire a new county counselor, we would, in effect, separate out the duties that Wayne has held for many years, which is really both as a county administrator and as our county counsel. And in doing so, we are presently recruiting for a new county administrator. It will be a new position, but that position is really not an additional FTE because rather than replacing Wayne with an attorney, we are replacing Wayne with a county administrator. And so therefore you see the new fund on page 28. I will also point out that that fund is really for FTE. It's a county administrator, and it is a new position, a county administrator assistant. That is a new position, an additional FTE. But it also, that fund also includes our county public information officer and our county executive assistant. And to complete the picture, if you look at the next page on 29, you see that there is a reduction in the non-represented personal services category, and that in effect shows the shift of the position currently held by Council Belmont to the what will be the new county administrator. So in the interest of transparency, I wanted to point that out. With that, are there any other questions or items of discussion that the committee members wish to raise at this time, or comments? Well, silence is golden, somebody once said. It is 8:07. If there's nothing more, I will ask if there's been any public input. Public Information Officer Casey Miller, any public input? Or Christy, are you with us?
Yes, we haven't received any public input on this, on the county budget.
Okay, and if people wish to provide public input, they may do so through a smart sheet on our website. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yes.
Or certainly direct emails to any of the budget committee members. And we'll try to provide responses as best we can. All right, is there any other discussion? All right, with that, our next meeting of this county budget committee will be on Tuesday, May 18th. It will be at 6 p.m. It will be held virtually, just like this meeting. It will be recorded and you'll be able to access it on YouTube. And if there's nothing more for this committee tonight, we are adjourned. Thank you all, and see some of you soon and some of you not until the next meeting maybe. But thank you all. Have a good evening.
Thank you.